All right, so here's a card trick we can do that will teach you probably never to play cards with a magician, and I'll show you why, because this is a cool little secret that magicians have, where they can know what cards you have when you're playing cards. So now, even though we're working with a shuffled deck, as you can see, cards are shuffled, we're going to cut them. Go ahead and cut the deck, and they can do that. They can cut the deck as many times as they want to, but it doesn't really matter, because what's going to happen is you as a spectator are going to decide how many cards we hold in our hand. So while we're going to be cutting the deck, but what I want you to do is decide on a number between, say 1 and 10. Come up with a number between 1 and 10, and they will do that. They can think about it, or they'll just come up with, let's say, 5, okay? All right, so 5 then is the number of cards we're each going to have in our hand, as if we're playing poker or Go Fish or whatever. So you said 5, right? So that's how many cards we're going to each be dealt, like this. 1, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 each, right? 5 and 5. Okay, so we can lose these cards, but we're going to use these hands. Now, you also can decide which hand you'd like to hold. I'll keep the other one. So point to the hand you'd like to have. And let's say they choose this one. It doesn't matter. They have a free choice. And this is Magician's hand. Now I'm going to do something for you. I'm going to actually show you my cards, right? And the reason I'm going to show you my cards is because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You see, you gave me a really important card, even though you decided which cards we're going to use and how many cards you're going to have in each hand. You didn't realize it, but you gave me a very magical card. You gave me the King of Hearts. And the King of Hearts has a special ability. The King of Hearts is a card that knows all of the other cards at play. So the King of Hearts can actually whisper to me mentally and tell me what cards are in your hand. Now, remember, they'll be looking at their cards. I haven't shown you for this tutorial what's in this hand yet, but I will. But they would be looking at their cards. And I'm basically going to tell them the King of Hearts is telling me what's in your hand. For example, I know that you have a Queen of Diamonds. The reason I know that is because, again, this card is telling me. So if we were playing poker, I would have a serious advantage because I know about the 2 spades you have. The 10 of spades and the 8 of spades that are in your hand, I know about them because that's what the king told me. The king also told me that you have a 2 of diamonds. And your 5th card, also a king. King of spades, right? So when you're calling out their cards, you can have them set them down on the table one time, because you will in fact have gotten them all right. Because in their hand will be all of the cards that we just listed, okay? There you go. I'll always know your cards because I've got the secret card. The communicator card, the one that's whispering to me. All right, so that is a very unique twist of another method. So again, this is a card trick that I just kind of put together based on another principle that's familiar to some of you. Let me explain to you what's happening here. So this is actually a stack, but it's not the kind of stack that you might think. It's not the size Stebbins stack. It's not an 8 kings, 3 10s stack. It's not a mnemonic. It is what I call the invisible stack. Now I call it the invisible stack because it's using a method that's used by the invisible deck. If you have been around Magic for any length of time, you probably do the invisible deck, or you have an invisible deck. And so I'm not going to expose the invisible deck fully here, but the invisible deck does use a principle of something called partner cards. And this deck is set up with all of the partner cards from the invisible deck, which I will show you. So every card in the deck, in this stack, has a partner it goes with. That partner is matched up by suit. For example, the clubs and the diamonds are always together. A club is always partnered with a diamond, and a spade is always partnered with a heart. You can kind of remember that if you want, because a spade actually looks like a heart, you know, without that little thing at the bottom. You can see that a spade's kind of an upside down heart, or vice versa. And then of course the clubs and the diamonds go together. So you have to remember that. That's actually, you have to remember that at least in the standard invisible deck as well. The other thing that partners these cards is each of them, when they're added together, total 13. Here's what I mean. So the partner card for the Jack of Clubs is actually the 2 of diamonds in the invisible deck sequence. The diamonds and the club go together. A 2 and 11 are 13. And so these cards are always together. The 8 is partnered with the 5, and again, spades and hearts go together. 8 plus 5 is 13. So whenever I see an 8 of spades, I know its partner card is 5 of hearts, and vice versa. The 3 of hearts is partnered with the 10. 10 and 3 is 13. Hearts and spades are together. So these two are partners. The queen and the ace go together. In this case, it's a diamond and a club. A queen is 12, an ace is 1. They add up to 13. So these two always go together. Kings are 13, and the way they're partnered is just simply by their suit. So a king of spades is always partnered with a king of hearts. Now the other thing we have is every partner is either odd or even, just because of the way math works, right? So an ace is the odd and the queen is the even. The 3 is the odd, the 10 is the even, the 5 is the odd, etc. Okay? And what I'm doing with this stack is I'm going from top down, odd, even, odd, even, odd, even. The bottom card will always be an even. In the case of kings, for some reason, I don't know why, but we just remember this, the black kings are considered even just for the sake of memory. That means the king of clubs and the king of diamonds are together, but the king of clubs is the even card. So in this particular stack, which I have right here, and they can be somewhat shuffled, by the way, as long as those partner cards stay together. So you wouldn't want to shuffle it in front of your audience, but the point is when you set it up, they can be somewhat mixed as long as the partner cards are together. So from here, I've got a 7 of spades and a 6 of hearts. That's 13. They stay together. 5 of diamonds, 8 of clubs. That's 13. They stay together all the way through until we have, again, these 2 kings together here. That means the cards can be cut all we want. And once we start the trick, as long as there is an even card on the bottom, I'm ready to go. And that's why I kept cutting the cards. So I show them that the deck was shuffled, but it doesn't really matter because you're going to decide which cards we use and how many we use. And as I'm talking to them, I'm cutting the cards like this. I'm going to explain to them, you're going to be selecting a card, and I keep cutting them until I get to an even card on the bottom, which I just did. First I had a 5, then I had a 7. Now since I got a 4, I'm going to stop cutting. I'm going to say what I want you to do is tell us how many cards we're going to have in each hand. So they give us a number between 1 and 10. It can be basically any number. It's just you want to keep it within 10 so it doesn't go on forever. A lot of people will say 7. Whenever you ask somebody to pick a number between 1 and 10, a lot of people say 7, and that's fine. So what you'll do then is you're going to start dealing cards. Now remember, every other card is a partner card because 1, they're partnered up, and 2, I got an even card on the bottom. That's really important. If I had an odd card on the bottom, this won't work because his partner will be missing. It'll be at the other end of the deck. So as long as there's an even card, we can now make our 2 piles. So they said 7. So let's go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, you get 7 cards. I get 7 cards. Oh, and they can pick whichever hand they want. It doesn't matter because you're going to be able to match them up. So let's say they keep this hand. You're going to pick up your hand, and whatever you have, you're going to pick one of these cards to be that card that's the magical card. And you're going to say, look, you didn't know that you did this, but you gave me a very special card. You decided which cards we're going to use, how many we're going to use, and yet somehow magically you gave me the Ace of Hearts, and you don't realize this being a non-magician, but the Ace of Hearts is a really special card because the Ace of Hearts has the ability to tell me what all the other cards are that are at play. Well, what's actually happening is because I'm looking at all these cards, I know what the partners are. And in this case, funnily enough, I've got 3 jacks, which means I know they have 3 2s. And I can play with that. I could say, if we were playing poker, I know you've got 3 of a kind. Not only do I know, and I would want to hold it like this because I don't want them to study my cards too much. I'm mainly using that Ace of Hearts as misdirection because I'm really using the rest of the deck to figure out what the cards are. But I focus on this is the one card that's really telling me what your cards are. But because I can look at these, I know in this case they're going to have, because I have 3 jacks, they're going to have 3 2s, right? So I know you got 3 of a kind. And the reason why I know this is because the Ace of Hearts whispered it to me mentally. I also happen to know you've got a 10 of spades in there, and I believe you have an 8 of spades in there. So yeah, I have a serious advantage. And there's one other card in there you have. I think it's a 4, and probably a 4 of spades, and maybe even a queen. I bet you have well, I don't know, see a queen of spades in there too. If we turn this over, we're going to see that all those cards that I just listed are in fact there. I would probably turn these down and put the focus on their cards. And also, as you're calling them out, it's going to be more, I think, entertaining if you let them, as you call them out, have them put them down on the table. I don't have a spectator here to do that. And that's all it is. I'm just knowing their cards because of the partnership with this part of the deck. All right, so all I did was I took the old invisible deck secret, and it's part of the secret. That's, you know, that's about half the secret, I guess, the invisible deck. And for those of you that don't have that or don't know that, go buy one. Invisible deck is probably the greatest card trick there is with a trick deck. And maybe if you want, I'll make a video about that. It's one of my favorite trick decks in the whole world. You should have one. If you're into card magic, you should have an invisible deck. But I'm using a regular deck that's using what I'm calling an invisible deck stack. Once I know the partners, I can know their cards. Now, you could do this same trick with your own method of partnering up cards. You just want the partnerships to look random, right? You wouldn't want to partner them up by suit or by value. You wouldn't want the jacks to be partners and the aces to be partners. You want them to be numbers that look random. And that's what the invisible deck affords us, but still easy to memorize. And so, yeah, you can do it that way. Do it with the invisible deck stack, or make up your own partnership and you'll always know what's in their hand. I call it the invisible deck stack. You call it whatever you want and do it the way you want to do it. Either way, I hope you enjoy that.